This is Bill Smith from Evanston Now, and we're talking with Evanston Mayor Steve Hagerty about the COVID-19 crisis. And Mr. Mayor, what do you have to say in the way of reaction to the development today that Congress passed the big $2 trillion relief package?
They have two reactions. Wow, 2.2 trillion, and thank goodness. I mean, there are so many people in our community across this country that are hurting right now, including families, including small businesses, and the measures that we've had to take are drastic. I wish there were national measures that were being taken. Right now, it's sort of state by state, but those I hope if everyone complies with the governor's orders, we will see some positive progress in a few weeks, but it's going to take a while. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and we need that aid to come down to our families and to our businesses. So I think there's a lot of helpful things in this bill. It's massive, right? It's like close to 2,000 pages. Nobody knows exactly everything that's in it. We know that there's aid of $1,200 or $2,400 plus $500 for kids if you have kids that are going to come directly to families, but it's still going to take a couple weeks. We know the number of people that are coming into our office here at a local level for general assistance is significantly increasing. So the need is great out there.
Now, there was one aspect to this that I know you and the alderman at the meeting last night were kind of disappointed about, in that it doesn't provide aid for cities that have less than 500,000 residents. More about that. Do you think anything's going to be done about that in the future?
I hope so. I mean, I've talked to Congresswoman Schakowsky. I've been talking to Senator Durbin's office, Senator Duckworth's office. I'll talk to anybody that'll listen. That the vast majority of cities in this country are under the population of 500,000. The 150 billion that's in here in that bill for local government stabilization is really is only going to serve like 30 cities. There aren't that many cities that have population over $500,000. So the rest of us are going to experience, just like our families are, just like our businesses are, we are going to experience significant revenue loss. And I don't want to be put into a position, our aldermen don't want to be put into a position where we have to consider laying off firefighters and police officers and teachers. And if we can't get some kind of relief to help us with the significant revenue loss that we're all experiencing, in addition to those cities that are over 500,000, then we've got some serious challenges ahead. I will say this, there is a program called the FEMA Community Disaster Loan Program. And that program right now, if it's turned on, can give loans up to $5 million to local governments. It has a provision for cancellation and forgiveness if those governments experience an operating deficit over the next 3 years. And so we are pushing hard to at least have that program turned on for governments under 500,000 population. But preferably, lift the cap of $5 million and allow it to be up to 25 or 50% of your operating budget.
So what's your sense now of whether we're making progress in bending the curve? Over the last 5 days or so, Evanston's coronavirus case rate has roughly doubled, but before that, there was a period of time when it was doubling every 2 days. Do you have any sense that we're actually succeeding in bending the curve?
Yeah, I think the data is still light right now, even at the national level. Again, when you put it over our total population, and the same with the state level. And so I don't want anybody to be laxed into thinking, oh, things aren't as bad in Evanston right now. And again, it can sort of change within a day and a half. Right now, we're doubling after today's numbers that brought us to a total of, was it 61, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, to 61. 5 days. So that means it's taking 5 days to double. So presumably if it stuck to that 5 days, we have 122. At the national level, it's, like a little more than 2 days, it's doubling. The same with the state. The state may be creeping up closer to 3 days that it's doubling. We know, again, that it's going to get worse before it gets better. We just have to believe in what we've seen in other countries like South Korea and Hong Kong, that you can flatten the curve if you practice strict social distancing. And that's everybody. It's not just some of us. It's not a nice to do, it's a must do. And that is the key message that is in every meeting that I'm in. The governor's conference call today, he ended on that note. We should not think that we are immune to having a situation like they're having in New York City right now. It's very bad and it's very sobering, and all of us have to do our part. And it's not often that we have a disaster in this country where every single person in the country needs to do their part. But that's where we find ourselves today. And I'm hopeful that, 4 years from now, we'll look back on this grateful for what we all did to slow the spread and save lives in our community.
So I got a complaint today from a reader who said that city field employees have been ordered back to work and they don't have PPEs to protect them. What's your response to that?
Yeah, so all the public health officials are clear that unless you have COVID-19 and you are self-isolating, you don't need to be wearing a PPE. The fact of the matter is there aren't enough personal protective equipment for our doctors and our nurses and the people that work in congregate living centers, and those are the people that need it. So when I see people walking around, presumably who don't have it, I think that's not helping, the problem. So there is still some, essential city work that needs to be done. There are employees out there that are doing that. But there is no requirement by the public health officials that they need to be wearing a mask. The idea that people that are just, out for a walk are carrying the virus, they could be. Who knows? That's the problem. We don't know who is, but that we all need to be wearing an N95 mask or some other mask is not what public health officials are telling us to do. We need those for our healthcare workers and those that are working in congregate living communities who are coming into interaction with people that are isolating in place and have COVID-19.
Okay. Anything else that we ought to know about at this point? Any predictions on when we'll be able to stop staying at home? Whether the governor will have to extend his order?
I don't know. I know it's not easy for people. I mean, I think when we get through this crisis, and let's hope that, again, we all comply and heed the governor's stay-at-home order. Again, that means you only go out when it's essential that you have to go out or you have an essential function, that we will, hopefully slow this curve, or slow the bend and the trend of this. But all I can say is lean forward. We all need to lean forward. Every single person needs to have their own plan for their family about how they are going to self-isolate should one of the members of their family get COVID-19. And think about their parents as well. I mean, my parents are in their mid 70s, would be very susceptible to this. We've got them on lockdown, in Massachusetts, my brothers and I know that it's not easy for everybody. But the scientists and people that are really smart on this issue say this is the only way we're going to stop this virus from jumping from human to human, is to self-isolate ourselves.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mayor Steve Hagerty of Evanston, and we'll check in with you again soon.
Sounds great, Bill. Thank you for doing this.
Sure, bye-bye.